Are you sick and tired of your marketing not working out? Are you sick and tired of putting content out there, ads, funnels, organic, and no one's interesting? Maybe you're beginning to rethink your offer. Maybe you've switched niches a couple of times because you think this is not going to work out. If so, this is the video for you. Hang on, let's get into it. Hey guys, my name's Yahya, founder and creator of Record Breaker, where I help you shatter past your highest revenue record months in the shortest amount of time. I'm going to be sharing with you the biggest mistakes I made when starting out in my career and the mistakes I make sure my clients do not make. This is literally what allows them to skyrocket exponentially to 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in a matter of months. So the first mistake that I made, and I see a lot of people making today, is not reverse engineering their content. I see a ton of value posts on Facebook, tons of videos on Instagram and TikTok, but no one's buying. So there's a ton of content, but not real clients. Now, what I mean by that is that the content is good, it's not great. Your content might very well be talking about the same issue that your target audience are having. It's just not using the words they will use to describe their situation. So a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, agency owners think and use what is called an inside-out approach. So they look inside and they come up with words and concepts and vernacular that they think is going to resonate with their target audience, that they think is going to inspire and make people want to buy from them. Whereas in reality, what needs to be used is an outside-in approach. You use the words, the vernacular, the verbatim, the thought processes, the concepts, the personality, the trauma, everything that your prospect uses to describe themselves and their situations, right down to the words. That's right. So I made this mistake for at least a year. Tons and tons of value, lots of fans, lots of people cheering me on, but no real prospects. Because my content, while it was great, it was viral, it was popular, it was doing well, I was getting lots of engagement and likes and comments, it wasn't triggering or motivating or disturbing people enough for them to want to take action. And the moment I started reverse engineering my content, prospects would show up telling me, yeah, this is exactly this. It feels like you're talking to me. This is exactly the problem I'm having. This is exactly what I need to do. You want people to be reaching out and speaking to you in that way. What that means is that they think they know, like, and trust you. And they, boys and girls, are ready to buy. Speaking of feelings, the second biggest mistake people make is not creating content that is polarizing enough. A good piece of content will attract the right buyer. A great piece of content will repel the wrong buyer. How do you do this? By speaking to a very specific, a very niched down identity of an avatar whose problem you're solving. The more specific, the better. When I'm building buyer personas with my clients, we go super deep. We don't just look at the fears and the hopes and the dreams and the desires. We go down to the level of their selfish desires. What is the selfish desire that a prospect has that they won't tell anyone, but they feel very strongly, right? You want to know the past trauma that your clients have gone through, which makes them take in information in a certain way, process it in a certain way. You want to know what their decision-making ability and process looks like. And it's crazy how when you combine reverse engineering with specificity, one specific buyer persona, you will get an almost supernatural response from that one specific person. That's exactly what I noticed when I started creating content that was not just designed to attract the right people, but to repel the wrong people. People would show up with their credit cards in their hands, ready to work with me. And the reason I didn't do this, and the reason most people don't do this, is because we're too afraid of losing a potential customer. So we want to be jack of all trades, master of none. Newsflash, no one works with the jack of all trades. People like specificity. People like specialists today. The more specific you are, the higher the chances that someone's going to work with you. I'll give you two examples of two very specific health coaches. One health coach helps women over the age of 35 lose their first 100 pounds. The other health coach helps women over the age of 35 lose their last 10 pounds. Very different buyers, very different modality, very different marketing. Hyper specific. So if you're currently using a one-size-fits-all approach and trying to cater to as many people as possible, stop doing that. Go deep. Niche down, get super specific. You're going to get a ton more people who are willing, wanting, and ready to work with you. This brings us to my third mistake, and that was not being structured in my approach towards my marketing and my lead generation. I'd be operating on more of a go with the flow attitude. I'd feel super inspired and I'd randomly put up a post. Basically, I was operating based on how I felt during that day and what was the message I felt like sharing. And because I was doing it randomly, my results were random too. And that's the reason why content calendars exist. exist. It's not designed to be sporadic and random. It's designed to be structured. It's designed to start you from one place where people don't know you, or they don't know your brand or your product or your service, to go from that to thinking that you're the perfect person to work with them. And the way to do it is to have different types of content in your rotation. Some pieces of content are meant to give value, others are meant to make you more relatable, yet others are meant to build authority. And you need to design your content calendar accordingly so that you can predictably start generating leads. The moment I became structured in my approach is when everything started to happen predictably. I could almost predict when a person would come across my stuff and when they'd show up on a call with me. If you're making this mistake, please learn from my mistake and change it right now. The fourth mistake I made was not studying sales calls and conducting interviews regularly. Now, sure, I did the usual market research when I started out, but I didn't update it. And so with time, as I evolved and my offer evolved, my content didn't evolve. Chances are, if you haven't been updating and upgrading your content rotation, your lead generation process, your marketing, you're still attracting what is probably an obsolete group of people to work with you. So my golden rule, my rule of thumb now is that every 6 months, I update my market research, I get more facts, figures, and data, I do more interviews, I study more sales calls to upgrade and update my messaging. Mistake number 5, and this one took me a long time to understand, quite frankly, get over and internalize. And this was getting romantic about my content. As weird as it sounds, I'd get inspired, I'd put my heart and soul into a piece of content that I thought was going to be fantastic, right? And then I'd put my content out there and crickets. Nobody cares. Or I'd put up an amazing piece of content, get lots of engagement, lots of likes, lots of all of that. No real clients. And then I'd get disappointed, I'd get demotivated, I'd be depressed, and then I'd coach myself on it, and I'd tell myself all sorts of weird stories about how my niche was wrong, my offer was wrong, my content was wrong, instead of actually studying, going deeper, going tactical, looking at the piece of content. What was wrong with it? What was the nature of the problem? I wouldn't do that. And I'd think about the big picture things, and I'd think about changing the marketing, changing the offer, instead of actually diagnosing a tactical piece of content, which is the way it's supposed to be done. So the moment I started tracking and analyzing my content like a scientist instead of a romantic, everything changed overnight. I understood what piece of content, at what time, at what level, and how would it be planned to solicit a certain response. And I didn't go off the basic response of getting likes and comments and engagements and reshares and retweets. No, for an entrepreneur, for a business owner, the objective of content is to get leads. I never lost sight of that ever again. Which brings us to the 6th and the last problem, boys and girls. This is a mistake I made forever. And that was thinking like an influencer instead of thinking like an entrepreneur. And I see so many people making the same mistake, chasing the wrong metrics. I need engagement, I need likes, I need comments, I need reshares. No, you just need leads. That's it. An amazing piece of content, and this has happened to me, I've had pieces of content get hundreds, thousands of engagements, can and will result in 0 leads. Whereas an average piece of content, according to an influencer, will result in tons and tons of leads. So I made the decision that I'm an entrepreneur first and an influencer second. I honestly didn't care about the influence. It's a business you're running. A lot of coaches and consultants get really confused and start thinking like influencers because of the philosophy that if you have enough fans, some of them will buy. Yes and no. If you have enough fans, some of them will buy. But the amount of effort you're putting in to have fans and you're running a business at $1,000, $2,000 and struggling every day, it is much more optimal for you to get clients with a lot less work. And the moment I adopted this philosophy, my business changed in leaps and bounds. What I noticed was that there's almost 0 correlation between virality and business. You cannot say that a piece of content that's going to go viral is guaranteed to result in business, just like you cannot say that a piece of content that's not gone viral, barely gets any engagement, will not result in business. I've had clients looking at my content, not engaging with it at all, and just DMing me and being like, yeah, I want to work with you. I've had the same thing happen to my clients. There is no correlation between content being viral, getting a lot of engagement, and content resulting in leads. Understand the difference. Decide who you want to be, an influencer or an entrepreneur. And then create your content, do your marketing, do lead generation accordingly. And those, boys and girls, are the 6 biggest mistakes I made. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you don't make these mistakes. I'm out of here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.